This is Andy from We're at Cardfight Consulting with our 2018 Premium World Champion, Colin Lai, representing Hawaii. Colin decided to play a very, very interesting deck this time. He decided to play Darkface Megacolony. Why did you decide to bring this deck?
Because I liked the deck when it first came out. It took me a while before any support actually supported it, and it was my comfort deck. Like, I played this the vast majority of the time. Not as long as Ezel, which just came out this year, so I was like...
And Ezel was your other deck choice?
It was, but I don't think playing a mirror match was gonna help me. I would probably lose.
Cool, let's get into it. So, starting off with, we'll have our Great Freeze.
Or I say three?
Starter.
Or three, okay.
So starting off.
I played 3 Dark Faces.
Most important card?
It was the MVP for the Ezo matchup. On stride skill, counterblast 1, choose 2 rear guards, stun, put them in rest, and then next turn they can't stand them. On stand phase, and at the end of the turn I draw 1 for each card that was still rested, that was affected by this skill. So sometimes the opponent might have to call over it or use skill to throw them back into the deck or retire them. So it makes them burn more cards out of their hand.
And the Soul Blast 2 as well?
Oh, right. The Soul Blast 2. For the, especially the Ezo matchup. Soul Blast 2, when a unit is called, puts them in rest. And then they have to, opponent has to use their player priority on the on-play skill. I played 4 Gridoras because I was expecting a little bit more of the NLK or Gize matchup. If I knew I was playing Ezo,
you probably played 4
I would have swapped the ratio. Gridora is meant to steal the counterblast from NLK. I play 3 Antlion because it's kind of hard to search for, but
it's your win condition.
It's my win condition outside other stuff. And if I do go into Zoa and fail, I could always ride this and be like...
Keep trying to kill them that way.
Killing them with the Antlion.
Now Grade 2s.
Grade 2s. I played 3 Mantises. Never needed to use it more than twice. You don't go more than 3 times for this skill. You look at the top, it's on place on Vanguard or rear guard circle. Counterblast 1, look for the top 6 cards, add a grade 3 to your hand, and this gets +6 for the turn. So it's to fish out your 3s.
Yeah. So pretty much digging for your Great Freeze, so like...
Or Ultimate Stride or
Ultimate Stride. Yep. No problem.
Or Ride.
Next one is probably the most interesting one.
Oh, I say it's probably the best tech. 3 Vulgar Blitzer. So I ran him because this was meant for NLK / Ezo. For why I say NLK? Because this is a 7k base, grade 2, so your opponent is more likely to hit it. And then why I say for Ezo, as a rear guard circle in the front lane, it stuns their aggressive board without going into the GB phase, generation break phase. And the other good skill about it is that you can pay, when you're striding, I know it's on board, you can retire him and stride for a Dark Device stride.
So in this case, it will namely be overwhelming. Overwhelm.
Yeah. Always overwhelm.
Always overwhelm. Yep.
And that makes the grade 3 striding make it a lot easier. I ran 2 of these because I wanted to tank the aggressive decks. Honestly, a 10k is pretty good.
And also it gives you the option when you wanted to deny damage, you just don't reveal Dark Face.
I played where I wanted to hit them.
Great. Yep. Next.
One Bloody Hercules. I say it's the grade 2 in this lineup. It isn't that important as long as you ride from 1 to 3. Never pay the Soul Blast cost because your soul is very important in Dark Phase. The on-hit skill is good though. +6 and counter charge.
Counter charge so you can pull off more of your effects.
Yeah, because counter blast managing in this deck is a little tricky. Not a lot of ways to counter charge. 4 Hornets. Outs. This is what you want as your ride target. And it has an on-hit skill as a booster or on attack. If I hit my opponent Vanguard, look at the top 6. If I see a grade 3, I can choose to add it to my hand and then shove this unit into the soul if it's a rear guard. Here's a tip. You will generally want to use this skill like only twice or once. Do not always play them because 10k shield, you need to survive through the game. That's more important than just searching for 3s. You don't want to ditch a 10k shield for, I don't know, a 0 card shield.
For a grade 3, yeah.
Yeah, and then just die in the matchup. I learned that from Standard.
Fair enough.
I chose to run 3 Stride Fodders because we have a lot of ways to stride in this deck, but it did save me because I didn't have any other grade 3 besides this from the search for the final game. So I was like, I played this as a rear guard and I searched out the counter, the Dark Phase for the final round. Stride Fodder is very important. 3 small Captain Butterfly officers. This is more of a hit and run case for the NLK matchup. So if I want to play aggressively against the NLK, I put a front rear guard and then have to play Butterfly in the back row, giving the front row +10. So at the end of the turn, it goes into the soul, which is fuel for Dark Phase. It also counter charges, but super good. Generally, this is used to bump up Antlion outside of Zoa turn. Two Twilight Matters, or Flowing Mutant Twilight Matters. Skill is really simple. As a booster, and you have a grade 4 Dark Phase, at the end of the boost, during the boost, it gets 3k, so making it a 10k booster. It goes into the soul, and you draw a card. So the matter for me was moving units into the soul, and then plussing somehow. And finally, for the last of the grade 1s, 2 Black Weevils.
Super standard.
Super standard. It's like, it's because I ran 2 PGs. I needed to be careful on how the guard restrict wasn't within the meta. Like, either I had to play against an opponent where I couldn't play grade 1s from hand, or I couldn't play grade triggers from hand. So that's why I split it in half.
And also he randomly just gives you extra counter blasts and a hand advantage if you ever get its other effect off. Alright.
Super good.
Now onto the trigger lineup.
2 draw triggers.
Just spend them more out.
Standard 4 heal triggers. You can mix, match however you want. This was my player preference. As long as you run a couple of the new heal trigger. I played 8 of the new crit triggers. Very important because 10k power and 15k shield makes the game pretty good and surviving easier. I split it in half the crit triggers. If people were wondering, I played 4 kinds of crit triggers. This was basically to shove into soul and draw a card. And then this was to make my game last a little bit longer, or at least hit the crit trigger once again. Because this is a crit deck.
Yeah, so you can always just, when you're running low on deck, or if you need triggers, you can just shove that card back, even though you can't resolve its effect, because it's
No,
like,
I have to choose a rear guard.
you have to choose a reguard, but you can still put it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just doesn't resolve, because you
Yeah.
don't have a machine.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, you don't need a machine. It's GB1.
Yes.
And then the starter, I ain't playing Geese. It's your simple starter from Destructive Roar. Simple, ride, draw a card.
Alright, now onto the strides.
The best.
Your win con?
I mean, it was the mass win con. Ezel, catching off people with Zoa. Antlion combo. Best win con. So if for people who don't know what Zoa does, it's ultimate stride. You have to pitch a copy of itself, or your grade 3. And in counterblasting 2, you draw a card, and 1 card from your hand you have to play on board. It gets the skill, its attack is continuously 5 9s, 99,999. It can't be chosen for skill effects, so your opponent can't
Denial Griffin.
Denial Griffin or hit around it.
And
Or other stuff, or like bounce.
yeah, those are the main ones.
Yeah.
And if they take a hit, they die.
If I touch you, you
gone.
die.
Thanks.
2 Opterandis. Skill, GB2, Counterblast 2, ditch a card from my hand. And for the rest of, into the end of your opponent's turn, they cannot call any units. Any way possible. Superior call or regular call. No. This was for NLK. Very important. Or other matches where they spam heavy their field. If they already played a field, well, I'm like overwhelmed then. Which, speaking of which, we play 3 overwhelms. The best card for surviving the meta in a heavy Excel format. Skill, Counterblast 1. For every rested rear guard, I draw a card.
Yeah, pretty standard. Sometimes you get with like drawing 3 or 4 cards. And if they only have 1 rested unit, she draw a card, she gains a crit and quad drive. It's pretty good.
Oh, the crit I find, I would rather prefer critting my opponent
Yes.
in a 10 crit deck.
You can just get her effect off, trigger some crits, and you win.
Yeah, kill him from potentially 0 to dead.
Yeah.
This was your flip target for Overwhelm, but you could also ride him once after you flip 2 of it. This is 3 Merciless Mutant Deity Darkface. Skill is Counterblast 1, choose a card from your G-Zone, flip it over, and for each one that's face up, you choose one of your opponent rear guards. Your opponent cannot choose it for card effects or intercept, and this gets +5 for each. So it's like, for me, denying my opponent interception or trying to restand it or shoving it for a G-Guard's cost. I had to use it sometimes during the tournament. Waspy Tail, the Spice 1 of attack. This was for Ezel. I doubt it was ever gonna hit, but I ran it anyway. The cost was Soul Blast 1. If I hit my opponent, I choose 1 rear card from the rear guard or the Vanguard column or lane, and it gets stunned. So if I'm against Go Paladin, I hit my opponent and they have like a full front Excel circle, I can choose the Excel circle and not allow their whole front row to ever stand. And I had to find cards that didn't counterblast. The GB8. I don't even know why.
Did you even use it?
No.
Alright, we'll just move that aside.
The G guards. 3 feather wall muted. Morphosine.
25k guard.
25k guard. We don't get that much guard. We have the GB2 guard. Your opponent has to choose whether if they rest 2 rear guards or not. If they choose not to, you get to draw a card first, then you soul charge and counter charge. But it's still 15. I'm still sad about that. This card was kind of important in the Megacolony matchup because their hand size was rather big. This is Mixed Elemental Coburn. It's discard 1 card from my hand, and then this card gets +5 for every 2 cards in your opponent's hand. So if your opponent's like playing a hand size heavy deck, this was the card to go. And some my G guards weren't as big as this sometimes by itself. 3 protect markers. I only had to grab once the whole tournament. The whole tournament.
So, thank you, Colin. Congratulations on your victory. Lastly, a couple of things you'd like to say is any word of advice for any people, any players aspiring to become a world champion such as yourself?
I think you just play to your what you feel is comfortable, because it's hard to say to come on top.
Yeah. It's true, you have to play what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, it's just it's your opinion if you want to follow what people do. I just did my own thing and believed in my deck.
Yeah, it was lucky that you didn't listen to Bryson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I turned this guy into a world champ.
Yeah, because he didn't listen to Bryson, he won the world championship. All right. So lastly, Colin, any shout-outs to any of your friends or anybody that helped you playtest?
Everybody back at home and my friends who came along on the trip. I made a lot of new friends during the greet for the dinner.
Yeah, for the butcher dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. Well, thank you, Bryson. Sorry. Thank you, Colin. Congratulations on your win, and hopefully we'll see you next year.
You can thank me.